Well, good morning, afternoon, or perhaps even evening to some of you. My name is Darlene Rondo, and I'm the Vice President, Best Practices for Leonardo's Online Merchandising Group, and I'll be your host for today's event. We're really super excited to be talking about the importance of compelling hotel websites and how effective web marketing can really help attract travelers and increase bookings. Welcome to everyone around the globe, and to those for whom it's the middle of the night, a special thank you for joining us. A few minutes ago, we had a couple of issues with folks logging into the GoToMeeting platforms, but it looks like everybody is getting logged in correctly now, so we're going to go ahead and begin the broadcast. A few housekeeping items before we begin. First, we're going to be recording the webinar, and at the conclusion of today's session, we'll be sending you a thank you for joining us email with a link to that recording, which you can share or listen to again at your leisure. Additionally, and I see some of you have already found it, there is a questions dialog box in your GoToMeeting panel. And as we move through our discussion today, please feel free to send in your questions, and we'll address them throughout the webinar as well as at the end of the presentation if we have time. We're also going to be tweeting during today's event, so please feel free to join in the conversation at #LeoWebinar. And before we begin, as we usually do, I like to launch a poll to get the audience's sense of where we're at on the topic. So I'm launching a poll now, and the question we want to hear from you on is, what is your biggest web marketing challenge today? Is it driving website traffic? Is it determining what kind of content to feature on my website? Is it incorporating a modern and sleek website design, or updating website with fresh content? So if you can weigh in, we'll give everybody a chance to vote. And looks like we have about almost half of the folks voting. And right now, looks like it's a pretty clean sweep with driving website traffic, followed by updating websites with fresh content, and then determining what types of content are valid for my website. So the majority of the folks have voted, so thank you very much for weighing in. We really appreciate that. I'm going to close the poll now, and we will continue with the webinar. So here we go. First, I'd like to introduce Joshua Johnson. Joshua is a digital media producer by way of travel storytelling. He publishes video, photography, and narrative on the web's very popular travel site, Matador Network, and works with tourism boards, hotel brands, and PR companies to strategize, create, and distribute original content. Joshua leads workshops and consults on brand storytelling, and lucky him, he lives in sunny LA. Any from our audience from Buffalo? If you are, please let us know from your chat box, because we really appreciate you digging yourself out of that snow to join our webinar today. So welcome, Josh. I'd also like to welcome Lori Fitzgerald as a special guest today. Lori has worked at High Peaks Resort as Director of Marketing and Brand Management since 2010. Initially, Lori was responsible for all of the marketing and brand management for the property, which includes 2 hotel brands, High Peaks Resort and the newly renovated Lake House, and 4 food and beverage outlets. Recently, Lori has taken on the added role of Director of Sales, joining the sales and marketing functions into one, creating one selling voice for all aspects of the business. And luckily as well, Lori lives in Lake Placid, and when not working, she enjoys all of the beauty that the magnificent natural environment affords. Things like kayaking, stand-up paddle boating, swimming, tennis, ice skating, and cross-country skiing, as well as the great shopping, dining, and entertainment options throughout the village. So Lori, welcome to you as well. Before we get started, I just want to set the stage a little bit. The reason we wanted to discuss today's topic with you is because we've really entered into a new visual reality. Today it's all about the visually driven social media sites like Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook and Twitter, but we've also watched many industries, travel included, switch to visual first websites. Take a moment and check out the visual redesigns of websites like Yahoo Travel, the Intercontinental Hotel Group Trivago, and I know some of you have also recently invested in developing a modern look and feel for your own websites. The reason for this shift is because visuals sell, and more importantly, stories sell. 93% of people consider visuals the most influential factor to their purchasing decision, and when selling hotel rooms and a travel experience, visuals are key to making that sale. We're also going to talk today about the importance of having easy to navigate hotel websites. Perhaps obvious, but something that can mean the difference between have a consumer abandon your site or follow through on your booking process. Make sure the information that travelers want, like where to eat, shop, and stay, and why they should consider you, is what it's all about. Being helpful is baked into the behavior of a good hotelier, and it should start on your website. Travelers visit many sites before booking, but according to a recent study, many leisure travelers actually make their final decision to book based on the hotel website. So the question is, what does your hotel website say about your property? So with that, I am going to reintroduce Josh Johnson, and Josh is going to take it from here. Welcome, Josh. Josh, hear you?
Oh, here.
I think we can hear you now. Please start
Okay,
again.
great. Okay, great. Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks, Darlene. I'm happy to be here. Like Darlene said, I specialize in content. I'm a digital storyteller. By way of blogging for a very long time, and now I work with PR companies, tours and boards, and hospitality and travel brands to tell stories. So, yeah, let's get into it.
There you go.
All right. So I'm gonna be talking primarily from a content creator and from a consumer point of view that has a kind of a savviness to the web and its content. But I'm gonna start with the why and the how, and then we're gonna move out to the what of how to create a hotel website that's really gonna pop and it's really gonna speak to users, tell a brand story, and be effective. I know driving traffic is super important to everybody, but we have to have a place to drive them to that is, impressive. You want it to be as impressive as everything else about your brand and your property. So let's start with the why and not the what. I think a lot of people want to start with the what do I do? Because they think they know that they should have an amazing, visually rich, multimedia rich web presence, but I think everybody knows we should, and we have to really kind of start with the why. And like Darlene touched on, because people look before they book, because they browse before they book, and it's really the new reality of the way people navigate and make their consumer decisions is they have a lot of options, and there's a lot of information and a lot of competition out there putting out competing messages. So people really, the consumers are empowered, so they're doing a lot of browsing before they're booking. For better or worse, we judge books by their covers. We are visual creatures. That's just the way it is. Nothing drives our decision making more than how we respond emotionally to the things we see, whether it's in a magazine, a website, or something like that. We're visual creatures, and we judge things by the way they look. The consumers, I think there's a critical mass happening now, so my next 2 points kind of go together. There's still time to really take advantage of all of the opportunities. If you haven't really committed to a modern, media-rich, very slick visual website, you didn't miss the boat. There's still time, but the critical mass is happening now. The consumers of the very near future are really going to expect high-level, high-functioning, very multimedia-rich, beautiful websites and web internet experiences. We're not talking about just your website. We're talking about the whole brand experience online and how it relates to each other. You haven't missed the boat, but it's happening now, and you need to be preparing for the consumers of the very near future because they will expect it. It's an incredible opportunity to reach the public with your brand, one that just 5, 10, 15 years ago just didn't exist. So this technology is really empowering us to reach people on a global scale with our brand. I believe that the virtual hotel has to mirror and should mirror your actual hotel. So like we said, before people ever set foot on your property, they're setting their virtual feet into your virtual space. So you really should take a lot of time and care to make sure that that mirrors your actual hotel. And the big why is also it feels really good to kick butt. It feels really good to be tackling this creatively, getting ahead of the curve, and it just feels awesome to take that leap. So we got the why down. Now it's the how.
There you go, Josh.
Thank you. So I think there are a few, I just wanted to touch on 4 kind of basic things that I look for in a website, in a web presence, in a brand, and in a hotel brand. But it could be any vertical, any type of brand, and that's a sense of style. And that it doesn't look generic. It looks like it has a unique brand presence that really pops immediately, and differentiates itself with its sense of style. Design is very important. More and more we're seeing very beautifully, visually rich, like Darlene showed us, the new Yahoo travel website. You see it has a very Pinterest style, big boxes of images. So the design, everything from the color of that you're using for the borders and the backgrounds, the fonts, the images, navigation, the way it's laid out and designed is very important. A sense of place. This goes hand in hand with the style. You want to use that style to evoke a sense of place and use that design to evoke a sense of place. If I'm looking at your property's website, it shouldn't seem interchangeable with another property's website in a totally different location. Really evoke the culture, the place, the city, the borough, wherever you are. Evoke that, represent that, and give your viewers a sense of what it's going to be like when they get there. And that 4th thing I'm really looking for in new, modern, visually rich websites is strategic use of multimedia. Embedded videos, big, full with beautiful images, nice social feeds. If you can get your Instagram feed in there in a visually rich, beautiful way, that's a big thumbs up in my book. So we got the why, we got the how. Now I'm going to move on to the what. How do we incorporate those 4 points? The what. This is the little screenshot of part of the homepage for a hotel I just stayed at in Maui over the last couple of weeks. And the first thing I noticed on their website, it's a beautiful website, travasa.com/Hana, is right front and center is a big, beautiful, professionally made video. It doesn't autoplay, but you click that play button and it expands out to full screen, and there's just a gorgeous video, like it says, A Day at Travasa Hana, that takes users through. It's a music video style, professionally produced video, and it's very immersive. You see that photo with the woman kind of surfacing, snorkeling. That's the feel of the whole video. So like I said, immersing people in that sense of place, this video does that immediately. Design style checks that box. Getting that multimedia right front and center, it checks that box too. So video on the home page, I think, is something that we really should be moving towards. I think viewers really want to see that.
And Josh, here's a question from our audience. Amy in the audience wants to know, what's best practice in terms of having a video audio play as soon as you land on the page? Yeah,
great question. I think there are some issues. I would never recommend having audio play. I could recommend having an autoplay video, kind of like in your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed sometimes, how the video will begin to play and then you have to opt into the audio. As a user, I really don't want to navigate to a page and then have some music, however beautiful or however apropos to the video. I don't want music to start playing. I may be playing my own music. I may be in a place where I don't want, something like that to happen. So I think an autoplay video can be okay, but what you may run into with certain users, depending on their setup, is bandwidth. So you don't want to have the page load so slowly because the auto play video is taking up your bandwidth. So it's kind of it's kind of a give and take. I would say let the user make that commitment to click on it, but if it's small, we're going to see in one of my other examples, there's going to be an autoplay video, and I think that it really works in some instances.
Hey Josh, while we're on the subject of video, Sean also has a question. would you have video on a responsive site homepage? Do you think that makes a difference?
You know, I think it all depends on the design and the layout, and yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. I guess my short answer is I don't see why you wouldn't start to incorporate video in creative ways. If you haven't seen it done a certain way, do some experimentation, and you can set that bar a little higher in design and in use of multimedia. So I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to types of websites that should display video, how you should do it. I think it's about really stepping up and getting there, and then you can copy what somebody was doing that works. You know, there's nothing wrong with seeing what's really working with websites that you really love and imitating that.
Great, thanks,
Mm-hmm.
Josh.
So next one is great design. This is Little Palm Island Resort and Spa. I haven't stayed at this hotel, but I noticed immediately when I was doing searches for great hotel website and layout that I really loved the kind of the magazine editorial style look of this homepage. It has a big, beautiful image, and these images are scrolling through, so it's not always quite as busy. I understand that the words get kind of lost a little bit, but these images scroll through, so there are other images. Excuse me. But I really love the way that this looks like almost like the cover of a magazine, and that these words on the left is actually their navigation menu. So it looks like the titles of magazine articles, but it's this great interactive navigation menu. And again, it ticks the boxes of evoking a sense of place, even though it's a very kind of a still life shot. I really get a vibe and a sense of style and place, and we get that sense of design as well with the creative use of the fonts and the navigation. So great design.
And here's your next slide.
Thank you. Excuse me. And with all of my examples, and with the two examples Darlene set out, a huge full width image is in play. What does full width means? It all depends. You know, screens are getting bigger and bigger, but generally full width means about 1900 pixels across, but that's changing all the time. But what I really mean is a giant photo. We don't want some little tiny, I don't want to squint. I want something that really takes up the page, evokes a sense of place like this one. I love this photo. It's not focusing on anything really specific about maybe the hotel design or the amenities, except for the fact that you get this communal sense of place. So you see guests interacting in an open environment, and it really shows you the type of ambiance and environment you can expect to have an open, outdoor, communal sense of place. So it's using that full width image. I love the design elements of the paintbrush. So it has they're using the full width image and then blending it with some really nice design elements that evoke a sense of place, has a sense of style, and has great design.
That's a great explanation, and it goes to Ivan's question from the audience. He's talking about the readability of text
Right.
on photos, and I think this is an excellent example of how to do that well, right?
Yeah, and I love the little, the way the words are askew and the way they did the font. It really juxtaposes some of the other text and on the website, that it gives it a casual, personable experience. I would say, for my taste, the font in the box where it says "Welcome to Rottnest," I'd like that paragraph font to be a little bigger. But by and large, I think this really works.
Yeah, agreed. And then we go to the other side of the coin.
Yeah, simple, elegant. This is a screenshot from this hotel in Buenos Aires, and this is it. There's no scroll down. It's these 4 boxes, and the one on the top right is an autoplay video, a very beautiful, professionally done video. This property is obviously very, very elegant, but it has no sound. It has no music behind it, and there's no option to have the music. So kind of to go back to the question a few moments ago, this is a really nice example of an autoplay video that really works for me. And then half of the homepage there on the left side of the screen is their navigation. So it's very simple, it's very elegant, and I just really enjoyed the simplicity of it, and it really juxtaposes my next example. Which is the giant, big homepage scroll down, which I'm actually a huge fan of. And this is the Citizen M website. This is their New York website. And you're seeing this a lot all across the board, whether it's an editorial, online magazine, a lifestyle website, a hotel website. You're seeing these big homepage scroll downs. It's really hot. It's really trendy. I really enjoy it because instead of having the guest having to click around and navigate and get bored, I mean, we know that the more people have to click, the more distractible, the bigger the commitment for clicking and loading pages, the more apt you are to lose people in that process. But with a big homepage scroll down, you can get images of all of your amenities, images of that sense of place that you're evoking. You can give them lots of information. You know, I see a map down here. You can give them weather updates. Your Instagram feed could be there. You can really just populate it with links, resources, eye candy, so that the user ends up, I mean, from my point of view, I end up scrolling all the way down one way or another. If I get this big scrolly, I like the way it reveals more and more information, and I don't have to click around to look for things. So the big scroll down can be a great way. I mean, there's the term one-page website. You can create, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but you can create a website that's just one big scroll down homepage. It makes it really simple for the users, and you get all of your information in one place.
That's a good point, Joshua. And, you know, the other thing that jumps out at me about this website is it's so visually compelling that it really grabs the travel shopper, and it makes them want to stay on your website and then book directly with you, so that you really don't want to leave this experience. There's no reason you have to go to another indirect travel channel to get information or to book. So, you know, designing a website like this really helps keep people stuck to you.
Absolutely. And and with, just to go into a little deeper, this is such a well-designed website. It's so geared towards the user experience that it makes me, I've never stayed at a Citizen Inn property. I see how funky and kind of trendy and really cool it is. I'm drawn to it, but the care and the care in the website and the design really makes me feel confident as a user and as a kind of a Gen Y who loves the online experience and is really looking for a quality website. It makes me trust the brand, because they've spent time, energy, and resources to create this virtual property for me to explore, and it makes me really trust that they're going to go the extra mile in all aspects of their brand when I set foot on the property and really in any way I interact with them.
No, that's a solid point, Josh. Daniel from the audience is asking about the scroll down option. He said he's talking about how does that impact mobile with the whole scroll down.
You know, I'm not a developer, but web developer, but I do know that at this point there's no real excuse if you're currently developing a modern website, if you're paying a web developer to do this, or you have a team doing this, I don't believe there's an excuse for your website not to be mobile compatible and tablet compatible across the board. I mean, the small amount of experience I have with building websites is kind of for myself and projects that I do, but even with the WordPress templates I use that are very user-friendly, and you can use this web template and plug it in, it automatically updates the site content and the design for mobile and tablet, and it's a very cheap, user-friendly option. So I think at this point, you know, if you have a website that hasn't been updated for years, or if you have something that is in need of modernization, you might have those mobile and those tablet issues. But I think with web designers now and with template options, I don't think maybe a lot of hotels use template options, but I don't see any reason why there should be that conflict going forward.
Yeah, good point. And, you know, sorry, go ahead.
And if there is, get a new web developer. Get a new web designer. I mean, honestly, if your web designer says, well, it's not going to look good on mobile, you'll say, well.
I know. So, good points, Josh. It's really important that whatever effort you put into designing the website, you just can't afford not to be mobile friendly, and that's both for tablets and phones, right? Because that's just how people are behaving these days. So
absolutely, and that big scroll down, it will change the design elements. If I'm looking at that on my iPhone, it will have the same all of the same content, but it will just change the design elements slightly, and the menu and the navigation elements in the mobile platform, so it can fit that screen size. But it's still there.
Yeah, exactly.
So lastly, just a couple of take action to wrap up what I was saying. The first thing you can do is sit down with your team and look at websites that you like. Look at these design, navigation, and media aspects. Take note. I mean, that's what when I'm working with teams on my different projects. Flattery is the highest form of a compliment, and or what was I? What's that?
Um,
Yeah.
Imitation.
Imitation. So, it has form of flattery. So, there's nothing wrong. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Bookmark sites you like. Talk with your team about it and talk about the specific elements that you like and how you can incorporate into your redesign or your modernization going forward. If you don't have full-width images already on file, hire a professional photographer or find your local photo blogger. Obviously a high quality professional photo blogger, but host someone, create a scenario where you can get lots of beautiful, professionally made, full width images ready to go for you. Same with video. You have to, in most instances, you really have to spend money and resources to make these things happen. You shouldn't kind of go at it halfway or rely on more amateur techniques for that big homepage video. You can do that for social feeds. I'm not saying all of your videos have to be a big expenditure, but you want that kind of that keystone video to really look good, so you have to spend some resources to do that. And just wrap it up, make the most of your homepage. It can be super simple, it could be a giant complex scroll down, but just own it and design it for your branding and your user experience.
And that's a good segue to one of the questions that we have from our audience, and it's kind of a sensitive question because they're saying, what about for hotels that are part of chains that have brand standard layouts, maybe other ways to drive business to the website? And so I guess I would say to Mallory, there is a way to design an independent website that incorporates all of your brand standards while still creating your own personality. I think it's doable. I think you just have to, get the brand standards, and as you alluded to, Josh, get a good web designer and, brainstorm how you can get the best of both.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because you're part of a chain and there are standards in place for design and look and things like that, really think about how are we different? How is this place, this city, this neighborhood, this island, how is this special? How is our staff special? How is the local culture completely unique to other hotels in this chain all around the world or all around the country? You are unique, and you can display that through photos, through media, through the sense of design and style. Even if you have to kind of really stick to a brand standard, I think there are lots of ways to bring out your personality.
Great. Thank you so much, Joshua. And certainly, judging by all the questions from the audience, really ticked a lot of boxes in terms of people's interest and guidance. So appreciate your feedback as always.
My pleasure.
So just to wrap up what Joshua said, use visuals to draw people in. That's really critical. And express your hotel's personality and character to provide potential guests with a view into their anticipated stay. Use big, bright, bold visuals to really make a difference. And of course, we know in 2014, video sells. And also consider refreshing or redesigning your website in 2015 as part of your, put it in your budget so that you have the resources and the strategy in order to move forward. So at this point, I would like to introduce Lori Fitzgerald, and Lori is the Director of Marketing and Brand Management at High Peaks Resort. And Lori's going to talk to us on the same subject, only from a hotel perspective. So welcome, Lori. I know you've had a crazy morning. I really appreciate you joining us. So glad you're on.
Good morning. Sorry for the panic there for a minute.
No worries.
Whoops, sorry. I'm closing the door and someone's handing me something. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Lake Placid, New York. We are a destination here in the Adirondack Mountains. We're about 2.5 hours south of Montreal and about 2.5 hours north of Albany, New York. So we have the unique situation of really selling the destination as much as we're selling our hotel. And so what that means is really introducing people to the market, because so many people are not aware of what's here. And not so many people remember that we've been the host of 2 Olympic Games. So we have to sell all of what there is to do, which is literally thousands of things every day. And this slide really just gives you a sampling of the kind of things that you can do here. And it's both a leisure transient market, it's a big international sports market, as well as a groups and meetings and retreats market. So visuals become critically important as a way for us to really draw people into the destination, get them to choose this destination over other resort destinations and possibilities, and really build that awareness. Our destination marketing is not as strong as it needs to be, so a lot of the pressure falls on the hotels to really help expand the market and the reach and the visibility of the destination itself. So we use large, eye-catching visuals, mostly of our natural surroundings, to really draw people in and help them visualize what a special place this is for them to come and visit and vacation. So again, you see the winter photos, the photos of the fall, and again, it's really trying, it's a little bit different demographic each time of year. So winter tends to be a little bit younger, a little bit more single, while autumn tends to be a little older, more couples, and summer tends to be more families. We don't really have spring here, so it's a 3-season resort. But again, using visuals, happy people. Go ahead, darling.
Yeah, I think, Lori, you make a good point. You know who your guests are, and the imagery that you use in your marketing reflects who they are, so that you know who your potential guests are. So when they see, effectively, they're looking in a mirror, pictures of themselves. They, people want to be with people who are like themselves, right? So that is a smart use of visuals.
Yeah, I mean, it's about emotional engagement as well, and it is about seeing yourself in the picture. If you're traveling for business, then you're maybe more interested in, is the bed going to be comfortable at the end of the day? Is there a place for me to, set up my notebook and work, or whatever the case may be? Here it really is about selling an experience. So we have to make that emotional connection, and the easiest, most effective way to do that is through visuals.
Exactly.
And same thing with our, this is a picture from our restaurant. Another piece of it, it's the socialization, it's the engagement. Our tagline for the restaurant is Lake Placid Celebration Destination. So really needing to show people having a good time, even if all you're celebrating is, that it's happy hour somewhere.
And in fact, it is happy hour always somewhere.
Exactly. And it is all about, for us, views. All of our rooms face the lake and the mountains. So it really is a huge selling point because we're located centrally, and it's a key differentiator even within our own market. So, important to demonstrate to people what the difference will be if they choose one hotel over another, even within our own market.
And I think you bring up a good point. We often get that question from hoteliers, both in resort areas and in urban centers, and even, side of the road hotels where, how do I differentiate myself? Well, for High Peaks, naturally, if all your rooms have lake views like this, may be easier to do than if you're, on 4 corners at the intersection of a highway. But nevertheless, I think the point is, figure out what is unique about your property, and then, call that out. And just the little things make a difference.
Right, exactly. And the other thing is really appealing to them with the kinds of things that are special and unique to this market. So I'll go back to what I said when I first came in, which is that, we were the hosts of 2 Winter Olympic Games, one in 1932, one in 1980. And 1980 is really obviously what put Lake Placid on the map for those of us who are old enough to remember, and that is the infamous Miracle on Ice, which was one of the greatest sports moments ever. And so we really lean on that Olympic legacy a great deal. It's one of our 4 brand pillars that we focus and try to tie ourselves back to really the origins of this hotel. The building that this hotel sits in was built for the 1980 Olympics. And this year is the 35th anniversary of that Miracle on Ice game. So one of the things that we're promoting in conjunction with the Olympic Regional Development Authority is a Miracle on Ice fantasy camp where people get to come in and actually play hockey for 4 days with members of the 1980 Olympic team.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool package, all-inclusive. It's very exciting, but we're the host hotel for that. We were the host hotel for ABC Sports during the Olympics, so it really is an opportunity to tie back to our origins. And so it's good for us to highlight that. There'll be a corresponding large promotional event going on in Dancing Bear's restaurant as well, directly tied to this. We're actually giving away one of the packages, but we use this pop-up space on our homepage to really feature and highlight exceptionally unique things that we are doing over the course of any given season. So for right now, it's really trying to help book people into the teams for this Miracle on Ice fantasy camp. In the summertime, it may be some special summer package. Once we get to closer to the holidays, we'll really begin to promote the opportunities for skiing going forward through the winter. But there's always, it's just a big visual pop-up that it's the first thing you see when you come to the website, and really, again, draws you into the uniqueness of the destination as much as it does the uniqueness of the hotel itself.
And, to our audience members, John in the audience is asking, what do I do if I don't have that kind of a special thing to hang my hat on? I guess I would say, look around the environment, your community, your local partners, and see what special things are going on around there. And even if I were a hotel, Lori, in proximity of your place, I'd be banking on the Miracle on Ice fantasy camp also, right? Because you could still participate in that and be staying elsewhere. Not that you would want to with the fabulous High Peaks Resort, but there are all ways to spin an idea, and you just have to get creative.
Yeah, I think you do have to look for the opportunities. In this instance, you can't book this camp without booking a room here, but this is a hockey town. So you have to think about another thing that we did last year that we're going to repeat as an example that other people can take advantage of is that we were able to plow a path around the lake. And it doesn't always work if there's a lot of snow because snow is the enemy of ice. But last year, because of the way the weather went and the polar vortex, we were able to plow a path around the lake, and we meaning the village of Lake Placid, not any individual. And what that did is that at any given Saturday, there might have been 500 or 600 people on the lake playing pond hockey, ice skating, cross-country skiing. We have a toboggan chute made from an old ski jump that you go to the top of and you shoot across the lake. It's what you do when the winters are long. But anyway, but people can use that opportunity because, again, it's one of those unique things that we have that other places don't. So you do just have to kind of look for what might even seem mundane to you is not necessarily mundane to a guest who would be visiting you.
Exactly.
So part of when we were looking before about putting the guest into the picture, they really do need to be able to see themselves here doing the things that they enjoy doing. So we're also very cautious in the images that we use to not make skiing, for example, seem extreme. It is an Olympic mountain, but there's something for everyone. So we try to balance the expert side with the not expert side and really make people feel like they could do this too. And we do a lot of that through our virtual brochure. Really is a storytelling mechanism for us. It allows us to sort of set up who the hotel is and what we're about, what we look and feel like, but also by coming and staying here in Lake Placid, here is the kind of experience that you can have. whether it's summertime and you want to just, go out on a paddle boat, or it's fall and you want to go for a hike, be it, up a high peak or not, or even in the wintertime, something as simple as ice skating or riding on a dog sled, which anyone can do. But it's all about making sure that people are in the picture so that people become part of the story and that emotional connection that we really work so hard to sell.
And, something that we talk a lot about on our content webinars in particular is selling the experience. People don't go to their rooms and lock themselves in, and this is the case whether you're in a resort or whether you're in a city or, you're on the side of a highway. So it is important to look in and around your property for those little experiences. It could be a coffee shop, it could be a bookstore, anything like that, and your proximity to it that makes your hotel sort of stand apart from perhaps others. So
right.
Good advice there.
And location to a major corporation where, people may be staying to go to meetings, et cetera. And the other thing that from that last slide that I'll just cover, and you can stay here, that's fine, is, we find, and I think other hotels probably find too, that our virtual brochure and our photo gallery pages are always some of the top visited pages on our site. Particularly as a resort destination, people want to know what's it going to look like when I get there. So
absolutely.
Critically important.
Yeah. Bill Marriott famously said, people today enter through your digital front door long before they ever physically set foot on your property, and that to me is just says it all, right?
Mm-hmm. The other thing is to make sure that digital experience that they first come to is one that's easily manageable and that people don't become frustrated. So it's important that the things that you want them to buy are easy for them to find. So, we've really laid this out where there are several opportunities on the page to make a reservation, or it's easy to figure out how to look around. You can go to the rooms and suites page, you can find our special packages, you can find our location on the map. And then, like everybody else, encouraging them to sign up for our email newsletters, following us on social media so that we can continue to engage with them going forward. But we want it all to be easy for them to find in a very uncluttered way.
We know that the average person online has an attention span of 8 seconds. So if you're not grabbing them in that 8 seconds and making it easy for them to find their way, it's not going to happen.
Right. And I think, mobile is important to everyone. It's really a growing piece of the whole puzzle for hotels and resorts. And one of the unique things about this destination is, oddly, as far, we're 45 minutes from the nearest highway. But we do get a lot of walk-in traffic because it's a great motorcycling destination, for example. But a lot of our guests book through their mobile devices, whether it's because they're here in town and booking at the last minute, or they're doing it from their car while they're in traffic in New York City. The fascinating thing from this summer, this July and August, we ran a Google ad campaign. And it was a pretty significant campaign, not necessarily more than we had spent in previous years. It drove about 250,000 visitors, new visitors, to our website. And we found that more than half that traffic went in through mobile, which was huge. And we got to the end of July and, everybody high-fived for having just achieved the highest monthly revenue this hotel has ever seen. And then when we got to August, we all looked at ourselves and said, holy cow, we just did it again.
Wow.
So it was a record-breaking summer for us through July and August, a lot because we were able to drive so much traffic and because everything does optimize to mobile. The traffic was a little bit less when we got to the end of October, but our ad campaigns for October were somewhat smaller. And as I said before, fall is more of an older couples demographic, where summer is really more families. So there's probably a little less tech savvy going on there, and you couple that with a lowered spend. And 20%, that is not a disappointment. 50% was just a really pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I was going to say 20% beats the heck out of the average, that's for sure. When you say mobile, you're talking about phones, right, not tablets?
No, it'll optimize to tablets as well.
Excellent.
Our desktop site will. It's not a responsive site, and I'll say that that is the next aspiration, is to have it be fully responsive. But that's probably for another budget year, as most people who are building websites know. But that really is the way to go, so that everything just becomes responsive and it doesn't matter what the platform is.
And that's a good point to our audience, Lori. You guys went out, you understood mobile was important, so you went ahead, moved forward with a mobile optimized site. You've had, obviously, terrific responses and success with that. And then, your next plan is to make it responsive. So again, to people on the line, you don't have to do everything all in one day. You can take this approach, but the important takeaway here, I think, is to get mobile optimized at minimum, and if you can, go responsive.
Right, exactly. The other thing that we really work hard to do is to make sure that all of our digital platforms are telling the same story, and it's that same visual story. So there's the large hero images that you see on the homepage of the website, like the skier that you're looking at now, and then the way that our email newsletters and are set up, there's an iconic visual at the top of the page. You'll see there's a Facebook post there. It's all that same high quality, eye-catching photography that really puts you in the picture. People may not want to see that. I think is that a Twitter post there?
Yeah.
Yes, it's snowing here, not quite as much as it is in Buffalo, but it's good news for us. We don't have to drive. I joke with someone that everyone else has to get in the car. To me, it's like, instead of the car keys, I just take my skis out and I'll get to work. So it's an exciting thing for us, but it begins. That visualization of suddenly there's snow on the ground begins to help us feed the pipeline for December in the short term, but also looking forward to January and February. So it is a constant, iconic visual connection across every platform that we're on.
And I think you've done a terrific job at taking the content and then repurposing it for Facebook, and then you repurposed it again in a different way that is suitable for Twitter, all keeping sort of the same theme. And that is something that hotel marketers are getting their heads around and learning to do more, is taking that content, because it's, as as folks on the line know as well, it can be time consuming. And so you guys have been smart about how you're repurposing this stuff and using it across multiple platforms.
Mm-hmm. And really on social media, it is all about pictures and video if you have it. Sometimes especially some of the images we had from this fall, got more engagement than we had ever seen, just by, on a more regular basis, putting up new and more creative visual content. Exactly.
So again, Lori, as with Josh, tons of questions from the audience. Thank you very much for giving us your insights. It's always important to the audience to hear from an actual hotelier how they're approaching this subject, and today's subject is web marketing. So thank you. Appreciate your feedback and your input. So
you're very welcome.
Recap what Gloria said. Use visuals to draw people in. Sell the experience, not your features and amenities. People don't choose you because you have a shuttle bus. They book with you because you make your commute from the airport convenient, especially if it's late at night or early in the morning. And, we just talked about mobile. Increase mobile traffic by supplementing with relevant advertising. The name of the game is keeping the shopper close to you to improve your direct relationship. And then lastly, build credibility for your brand by telling a common visual story everywhere your hotel is presented. And as always, we also do a poll where we want to understand from the audience what you thought of today's webinar. So I'm going to launch another poll, and if you could please just click the radio button that clicks is associated best with your answer. So will you attend another webinar? For sure, don't know, not likely are our three answers, and the majority of folks are weighing in, and we'll give everybody another second to give us their feedback. So by and large, folks have said yes, I will. About 14% said not sure, and a couple of you not so much. So thank you. We do appreciate your feedback, and we take that feedback very seriously, and we continue to improve on the content as we go. So just a couple of last words before we close out and take some last-minute questions, because we do have a few minutes. I'd like to share with you just a few words about Leonardo's visual storytelling platform we call vBrochure, and some insights into why we do what we do. We created vBrochure because we believe good digital marketing and hospitality is ever more challenging. The distribution landscape is complex. Hotel marketers are struggling to keep up with the ever-growing list of travel outlets that consumers are using to shop. And, you know, how do you cut through the clutter to give the consumer a real impression of what they can experience if they choose you? So our vBrochure solution helps hotels efficiently reach and engage people while they're shopping with an end-to-end multimedia platform. And it helps communicate the value you're providing so that you just don't sell on price. And lastly, it's an opportunity to set yourself apart from the competition so that the shopper chooses your property with the certainty that it is the right choice for them. And some closing housekeeping items. We have our finale webinar of the year, which will be how to deal with your hotel's digital marketing challenges, coming up in that recording. And so here are our panelists' contact information: Josh Johnson and Lori Fitzgerald. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're at the top of the hour, so we're going to close out here. Again, Lori, thank you very much for joining us during your hectic day. Much appreciated. Joshua, as always, thank you for joining us. The crowd really liked what you had to say, and I think learned a lot. So
awesome.
Thank you both. This is Thursday, which is the new Friday. So for everybody, have a good weekend. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.